Well, my reaction is that the Trump Pentagon does not welcome Black people. They're discouraging Black people from joining. There's no home for women. We know also the CNO of the Navy, the Chief Naval Operations Officer, who was a woman, was also fired tonight. The commander of the sorry.
The Air Force Vice Chief, we actually have the list up there. The Air Force Vice Chief was fired. The Lieutenant General was also fired. And then 3 JAGs were also fired.
Yes, so there was a purge of the lawyers, the senior lawyers. And the message there is that there's no rule of law left. It's a lawless purge.
Yeah, I think that CNN and MSNBC gonna have to tone it down, or they all gonna be getting fired like Joy Reid did. A lawless purge. When we use this kind of shit, when we're talking about American politics, it's they need to tone the shit down. If Donald Trump and his people have the right to remove folks from his cabinet, folks from his military leadership, or anywhere else, if he can legally do that like any other president I would imagine could, then that's what it is. And we need to just accept it for what it is. Just like folks like Biden and Trump himself is guilty of it, and other presidents, of putting Black people in these places for aesthetics so that shit look good. They don't have no intention on him ever doing anything for Black people. And him being in that position and following your agendas and your rules and the way you feel about life in America, it doesn't help Black people very much. And then someone like this lady comes along and tries to make us believe that they're removing him because he's Black. In this case, they might be. But I believe if he was Black and was a pro-Trump supporter, if you were left over in the government in a significant position of authority, and you really are close to Biden, or were close to Biden, or close to the Democratic Party, they're coming for you. They pretty much have made it clear. If you don't think the way we think, we don't want no slowing. We want to push our agenda. Now, what their agenda is their fucking agenda. We need to get one. Having an agenda ain't a bad thing. Don't let no one ever tell you it is. We just fucking need one. I believe that we're fortunate that Donald Trump, being racist like most white people in this country, ain't attacking Black people. He's leaving a door open for us. We're just unwilling to walk through it because the Democrats don't want us over there talking to them. We can go talk to whoever the fuck we want about whatever we want, if it's going to benefit us, as opposed to continuing to tie ourselves to a party who, when they're in power, there's no racism in the country. That's the word on the street. Our vice president gets up there and says, when she was the vice president, there's no race. America is fundamentally not a racist country. She said that shit out of her mouth. So you cannot be a few years down the road and all of a sudden it's a racist country. It was a racist goddamn country then, and it's a racist country now. It's only racist to us when the Democrats tell us that it can be. Because if we start hollering too much about racism, then we're kind of disrespecting them, because they're like, hey, easy. We're in control here and it's not that racist. But then when the Republicans take over, in a day, it's racist as hell, and all that lets you know how far we've come, to where they can play these little games in a matter of days, weeks, and months, and make us believe that we fought 60 years for this shit. And then Trump takes over, and all of a sudden it's some kind of a crisis going on in the country with him removing. If he want to remove that dude is not no pro-Black military leader. He's not in there pushing Black, or he wouldn't be there. You can't go in many of the places that they place Black people unless you relinquish anything that even resembles Blackness. And they let them know in their hearings when they're approving these people, or having the Senate hearings on most of these folks. They ask them about their race, and when you were in college, you wrote a term paper. You're Black. You're fucking black. You're writing term papers. You might demonstrate. You might march. But if you participate in a Black Lives Matter march or something like that, and you are an Air Force general looking to move up, you probably won't. They still to this day look at black people who try to better their race as being anti-white, anti-American, and they hate you for trying to better your race. There ain't nothing wrong with any race of people trying to better. The Latinos are not going to better our life. The Asians aren't going to better our life. We're not going to better theirs. Everyone is responsible to better their own life and not to be taking orders from the Democratic Party, because we only help the Democratic Party and work with the Democratic Party when it benefits them. If it don't benefit them, they don't fuck with us either. But we are very useful to them, and they have taken us about as far as you can fucking take a person. I mean, before the light snaps on it, we wake up and realize they refuse to relinquish any kind of jurisdiction over us. And we need to take it. We need to back the fuck up. And we need to prove it in the next coming days and weeks by walking over to the White House with a black coalition of anybody who want to go and see if we can get a conference room or auditorium or whatever the fuck it take to get everybody involved. And I'll bet you, if we make a formal request to Donald Trump, he'll show up, because he's in the moment right now where he's trying to garner support. He's doing some shit that's making the country feel uneasy because the Democrats are over there screaming like little bitches. It makes you feel like your country is about to fall apart and you're about to lose all your shit the way they're acting. And we need to just kick back. But what we need to do is really push ourselves to walk over there and have that talk. So far, black people have been looking pretty good. It's folks who were never getting out of prison, ever, never, ever. And Donald Trump is pardoning them. That's on an individual level, but it's a wrongful conviction. Even if the person did what they said they did, was it worth 25, 30 life? You know, do people deserve another chance when their circumstance kind of increases the chances of them breaking laws? You take that kind of stuff into account, you know, age, maturity, and all of those things. But then you add the harshness of mental illness from prison into that equation, and it's just a mess. It's a fucking mess. And all we keep doing is helping other people. Like right now, this lady is talking about they don't want black people here, and they don't. Who is she to be speaking on that? Because now the two black people who are on there will do nothing but echo what she's saying. Black people, they just don't want us there. They just don't. But Biden and his crew want us there, but only when we're carrying out their agenda. They don't want us there being ourselves. They don't want us there advocating for ourselves. They don't want us there just being like a regular employee you hired and you can't tell them what to do outside of the scope of their job, you know, their duties. Nah, they go beyond that with us. We got to carry ourselves a particular way, because if we don't and they feel uncomfortable, we won't be there. Just like he came in and I guess this guy made him uncomfortable for whatever reason, Trump got rid of him. If someone was sitting in that seat and they made Biden uncomfortable, Biden would get rid of them. And it wouldn't be like a constitutional crisis. It's just business as usual. It is what it is. That's what they do.
They removed the lawyers, and you have lawyers at every level of command. And it's a terrible message to send out tonight. And also, it's in the military, what we know is that we come from all different walks of life. We're different races. We have different economic backgrounds or different genders, and that there's no place for disrespect or a lack of respect for the dignity of soldiers.
One of the things...
Yeah, it ain't no place for it, but it exists. It exists, and it always has existed. And I'm telling you, it would be shocking for me to believe that there isn't racism and all kind of other stuff. Genderism is a little different, because when men are try to shut women out, or they look at another man as I don't know if that's inherent to our us being humans on this planet or whatever. In most societies, I mean, you go somewhere, the man is usually the role, because he's the stronger. He probably, if it came down to it in primitive times and it came down to these, the man gonna win. and men still assert that over women. But I believe that exists. I'm not trying to say it don't. I'm trying to say this in a way so people don't misunderstand what I'm trying to say. I believe it exists, just like racism exists, the sexism, genderism, whatever that exists for sure. But I don't think that the fight for equality needs to be blended together, with the LGBT, illegal immigrant, black fight. Every fight needs to be completely separate and dealt with and so that the best outcome could come. Because when we're all fighting as a coalition, but only one group is progressing or reaping the benefits of our hard work and our fight, which seems to be the case in every fight, even when we fight for ourselves. When the powers that be at any particular time are tired of it, they shut this shit down, and we have to move on to something else and begin to find a way to incorporate ourselves with them and get along, or they'll let us know again that they're not comfortable with our behavior, and the violence will break out, and people will die. And that's unfortunate. That it has to be that way. But we have power over that shit. We don't have to take these positions. We can expose the racists in people like Joe Biden who don't or are not looked at as outwardly being racist, but are in their very nature in the shit that he does. In naming his vice president the way he did. What the fuck was that all about? Because he had no intention on her ever becoming the president. He really probably thought he could pull 2 terms out of the place. And when he figured he couldn't, it bothered him. It pissed him off. Kamala wasn't the game plan. The game plan was to appease us for our support last election with her, not for her to go on and win the White House. That was not the plan. And when it just impromptu kind of fucking happened, they tried to play like it was all good, and they were the Democrats weren't cool with that shit, and they are still fucked up over it because they knew they were going to lose the White House. I knew they were going to lose the White House. All y'all pretty should have knew they were going to lose the White House. So what do we do now? We just throw stones and call people out on shit that we guilty of, be hypocrites, instead of just everybody really doing the best thing for their self, which will be the best thing for the country. When black people do better, the country do better. And nobody ever really allowed that to happen so that you could see that it's a fact, because it makes them uncomfortable. It makes them more uncomfortable for us to be doing really well and getting along with each other than it does. I mean, it's just sad to believe that they would rather see us not doing good. These are our friends, the Democrats, them really progressing, giving us the support and help that we do need but we can get there without them. We can get there without them. Went back, we could probably get there faster without them, because they got a lot of us believing that hand around your shoulder is support and love, and sometimes it's just a way of maintaining jurisdiction and maintaining closeness, so you can see what your newly released slaves are doing.
About CQ Brown, he was put in his previous position by Donald Trump, and Trump praised him when he did that. He actually was on duty today, as he always is. He was down at the border with our troops down there when this firing order came down. How can we look at this and not see this as just simply Pete Hegseth has decided that he is a symbol of DEI, and that's why he was fired?
I don't want to say he's a symbol of DEI.
Pete Hegseth might be right. I mean, how did the guy get the job if he wasn't, DEI, or was he special in some way? Maybe at the time when he was hired for that lower position by Trump saw something in him or had heard about his record, his military record, and was like, yeah, he'd be a great guy to have on the team. But things have fucking changed. We got this Ukraine shit going on. We got a lot of high-level generals, and they all got their opinions. And most people know what their opinions are based on the fact that they were just this close to Joe Biden. So a lot of them felt comfortable being who they were and how they were. And even if another president does come in, Usually it's business as usual, and they just let bygones be bygones and don't do too many major shakeups. Well, Trump and his team have a different approach. It doesn't make it illegal, but it does make it different. But it just lets me know that we got to do things that solidify our place so that we can't be knocked off our shit in just a couple of weeks or in just 30. That's all. It would be so much better for us not to be clutching our pearls and screaming and hollering like the Democrats are and using us for this purpose. We should be cool like we always are and kick back and chill and figure this shit out, together instead of arguing over dumbass shit like, are the Democrats racist? Was this a DEI hire and a DEI firing? Who gives a fuck? This man was not a black Air Force general in the regard of fighting for black people. That wasn't his calling card. They weren't worried about him going up there and trying to progress black people. They're worried about something else. And let it be what it is. If we don't have any black generals, that'll be all right. Maybe they can come in and join us and work closely with us and go where we all need to go. Because we have not reached the mountaintop. Somehow motherfuckers act like we on up there. We're not. We ain't. We're at the mountain bottom.
DEI is maybe surprising. No, we've been seeing about this. Secretary Hegseth was talking about how he needed to go. But look at what Hegseth is talking about as the Pentagon as a whole. He is looking to completely restructure the approach that the previous administration had.
That's
so he's
not
going to be
why
replacing a
Hegseth
lot of
said
people.
that. That's not why Hegseth.
He should be able to restructure the approach that the previous administration had. That's why you get a new administration. Everybody ain't going to keep giving Zelensky bombs and weapons. Everybody ain't going to keep letting the other guy over there in Israel do what he wants to do, Netanyahu. Everybody isn't going to sit back in a position of the strongest person in the world and allow these people to cause problems that you might have to deal with through your taxpayers' resources and money and harming your country in the process. Biden was willing to let that shit happen in the world when we should have shut a lot of that shit down because we could. Just because we could. Even with Putin, you'll go over there and be like, no, fuck that. And we're not going to be giving rocks to someone else to throw at you. If we're going to throw a rock at you, it's coming out of our hand. We ain't going to get no one else to do it. That's what the United States try to do. Little proxy shit. Passing weapons around to people and then acting like they didn't do it or because they didn't pull the trigger. But then when someone else does it in the world, because our enemies have allies. But do we want to shut that down? No, you can't be giving them that. You're going to give them a nuclear capability like we have. Only we got to share this world. Everybody got to figure this shit out differently. And the small part of it that black slaves from the United States of America need to get together on is something that works for us. If it don't work for us, we need to quit doing it. If somebody else pitches it to us, it's because it's their plan and their idea. That should let you know in the beginning at the door. Nah, I'm good. They'll be like, really? It's a great idea. It's a great opportunity. I don't think so. Because nobody on our side ever thought of it. So it don't benefit us. Where'd you come up with it? We good. But thanks, though, for running it by us and move on. Fuck it.
Said fired. He said he should be fired because he was, in his words, involved in DEI. CQ Brown, as far as we know, there's been no indication that he's been fired for cause, that he did anything wrong, that he has some philosophical approach to war fighting that is different from the president's.
You serve at the pleasure of the president, though. That is the nature of these roles. And so the president is clearly looking to go in a different direction at the Pentagon. So he's going to put a new team in place to do that.
Well, I thought you were going to play that other clip in that, I think that same podcast where Pete Hegseth basically questioned CQ's qualifications because he was black, and he said that in that podcast. This is in the Associated Press story. His remarks saying, "I don't know if he's qualified. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't because he was black." So it's hard for anyone to read this, other than the fact, as you pointed out, that this is a very directed purge that has nothing to do with philosophy, that has everything to do with the faces of the military, which Pete Hegseth has said several times that he doesn't respect women soldiers and he doesn't respect people of color serving in these positions. And so by putting this out there, if you're in the military and you're a person of color, or even if you're just a person of color in this country, how are you supposed to feel seeing this?
Here need to untie us from everybody else because she confusing the fuck out of me. Is she talking about black people or people of color or women? That's our problem. We never can get a fucking ray of light between us and everyone else. So we can never fucking chart our progress, which is usually nil. But it'd be really goddamn nice for us to put 100% of our responses and our thoughts into us. And we won't be having this fucking problem with the women. Women, honestly, you worried about women in the military? Please. They'll be fine, especially the white ones. Maybe the minority women, I really would be able to agree that it could be some issues there. Any person of color, of any color, red, Mexican, black, white, Asian, yeah, you're joining the United States military. Let's see. It's a racist country, so it's a pretty good chance the military is going to be racist. And most of its institutions, including its Congress. So what's going on with this? Why do we keep playing this little fucking game? Because we're trying to say the country ain't racist while trying to say the country is racist in the next breath. You just can't do it. If Donald Trump's racist and Biden's racist, the whole fucking country, it's a lot of significant issues that need to be dealt with. And we need to quit pretending like they don't exist or like they only exist when this guy's in power. But all we needed to do was vote for Biden and all the United States problems would be over. You know what it would do? It would silence it. It would make it more palatable, and it would make us go along to get along and continue to be oppressed and beaten and fucked up and fucked over. And then Biden would be looked at as a good president to black people. I choose the latter. I take a Trump type president who's going to shake people awake and make them do some shit that ordinarily they wouldn't do because they have a false sense of security and a false sense of comfort. Fuck that. It's time to fucking fight back and do some shit that makes sense. And I say fight back, and that just means get along with other black people, start working on some shit that's going to make some sense for us. But since it makes them so uncomfortable, I refer to it in the terms of fighting, because if that's going to be their response, then fuck it, that's fighting. We fighting by caring for ourselves and uplifting ourselves and moving forward. So, yeah, it's time to fight. Fuck it.
Which is going to be an issue. There have only been two African Americans who've served as chairman of the Joint Chiefs. CQ Brown was the second. Right. Colin Powell was the first. And he's also now no longer the highest ranking black officer in the military.
And there's nothing in the Constitution that says the highest ranking military officer has to be black. I don't know what the fuck that meant at the end. He's just no longer the highest ranking military officer. What the fucking difference do it make? Because he's black. Because she's with that putting a black face on his shit, which makes the optics look real good from far away. Other countries are looking at this like, wow, they got all these black people all over the place and hype. No, it's a bunch of bullshit. And they like that because it makes people like Biden have cover to make them look like they're not racist when they really are. And we need to stop protecting them. We need to knock that shit off.
I've been hearing a lot about military readiness. A lot of these men and women who got their jobs lost today have spent their whole life dedicated to defending the flag and defending this country, no matter the color of their skin, just like you said. And I think that that's what we have to think about, military readiness, because that's what Republicans have been using to justify some of the DE&I stuff that's been going on within the military and all branches of the government now that Trump's in office. But these are real folks with real experience. You know, I've worked with groups like Vote Vets around the country and worked with folks who I admire every day because of the sacrifices they make for our country. And thinking about these folks that's done this under this auspice and the voter out there and in the focus groups the last election we were in, this is not. Sure, everybody voted for change in some form or fashion, but I don't think this is the change they voted for.
It really is. It really is. I think people want fucking real change. And sometimes change is something that you don't get to sit down and architect yourself. You don't get to do it. You just got to accept it the way it is and work within it. That's what we've been doing. I'm becoming closer and closer to the idea that this is a white nation. This is a white fucking country. And we need to accept that, find our place within it that gives us a level of dignity and the opportunity to live our lives out without being choked out by police, locked up at high rates in prison, and uneducated. That ain't asking for a whole lot. We don't have to rule this motherfucker. We do not have to rule it. We do not have to be a part of the rulership. We just need to be part of where we go and how we're dealt with. All that other shit, I think we going a little too far with. And I don't think we'll have a hard time if we coordinate our shit together, retire all the old civil rights leaders from back in the day, and get some young folks in there with some the right mindsets, and let's get it going. Let's get it cracking. It ain't that difficult. If in 60 years, this is the progress we made since the mid 60s, I have confidence that the young people of today can take us beyond this shit. They can do probably in 10 years or 7 years what would be significant change that people would identify as, damn, shit different over there in America. And it's going to have to happen because it's just the kids, their mindset is different than ours. It just is. And some of the things that they know went on in their households with their parents and grandparents and the racism and shit is they come out the house and act like none of this happens or none of this is happening. But if you live in the United States of America, you know where black people's place is and you know how people think about them generally. And when we're looked at as idols and gods, and when we're looked at as people you wouldn't even want walking in front of your house or on your street. So we go to highs to the lows, and it's all determined by how white people feel. If they feel a particular way, you're a god. If they feel another particular way, you can be doing the rest of your life in prison. And that shit ain't right. We need to take that power back. We need to take the ability to control our mobility and where we go and how we're viewed, because it's us, and we should have control over how we look to other people and not at their discretion.
And I think there's repercussions for this kind of anxiety now that we're going to have in a tenuous world.
Before you
Well, I
jump in,
think
I want to ask you about something you
Sure.
raised too, the JAG situation.
Yes.
These are the military lawyers.
That's right.
That 3 of the highest-ranking military lawyers were. They're saying they're accepting nominations. Presumptively, they're being fired. This is also a Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, who in his confirmation hearing, he was questioned about his use of the term jagoff, and he suggested that JAGs, rather than enforcing the law, they are trying to get promotions and that they don't have the best interest of rank-and-file soldiers.
Well, I deeply disagree with that conclusion.
We can't forget also Pete Hegseth advocated to Trump for pardoning people who were accused of war crimes.
Yes,
So
he
put
did.
that all together.
Yes, I mean, the fact is he convinced Trump to issue pardons to 3 officers who were engaged in war crimes, and people witnessed that. And when you don't take accountability, that actually diminishes unit cohesion, because when people are treated differently and it looks unfair, then that is a real demoralizing occurrence. And I would add that when you take out the top legal officers, you're talking about the White House sees itself as the law and order over the armed forces, but actually you need lawyers at every level of command. And I would add that this is a readiness issue, because what's happening now is that the Trump White House is playing a subtraction game. And the military has not been able to achieve its recruiting goals, and they certainly aren't going to be able to do that with white men only. This is a very diverse union. It's a unit, and it's probably the best example of America at its best. It's really a travesty.
And that's America at its best. America is at its best is denying that there's racism. That's America at its best. America at its best is a black man being promoted to a particular position and fired, and nobody really knows why, because it's not on merit. Is it on race? Is it on his idealism? And what is it? Why did he get fired? Because it's a racist ass country, and because the only way that we can overcome this and make sure that this kind of shit don't happen, because we won't be in jobs that they can fire us from, that we don't have no fucking care for anyway. If you're in a position fighting for your people, fighting for black people to really do well in this country and move forward as a group, and you get fired, that's something we can get behind. Then you got fired because you black, and they can't deny it because you were only talking black. Everything you said was blackety black, 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 black. God damn it, black. They like, oh yeah, we're gonna fire him, and then we have a leg to stand on. But when you get up there and the only thing black about you is your face, the way you look, but everything that comes out of your mouth isn't for us. Your priority, as far as, yeah, I understand that you probably have a history of yourself and of us as black people, but are you able, in the job that they gave you, able to carry out any of that? Able to incorporate it? No, probably not. And for some reason, you made someone uncomfortable by saying something somewhere because they fired you. It is what it is. We need to get jobs we can't get fired from. We need to get jobs that we really believe in, and then we get to make up what we're going to talk about, what the topic is going to be, and where we're going to take the fight. And not because some damn congressperson got promoted to a place from Trump and he decided he don't want. If he could have nominated another guy, and he might have kept the guy. But I really do believe that the days of, and right now you guys seem so shocked because Trump is pretty much cleaning house, and some departments aren't going to come back. Some agencies aren't going to come back. Some people aren't coming back. But you watch, whenever it happens, the Democrats will win again. They will be in power again. And when they are, you watch them do the same thing. They got it. Then I bet you they're not going to keep a whole bunch of Trump holdovers, and they're going to be justifying it by saying, "Oh, we don't want to leave a bunch of Trump holdovers. We want to get neutral, good people in there. You know, government bureaucrats like we had." And everybody's going to say, "Yeah." But some of these agencies ain't never going to come back because the American people ain't going to want it. They're going to be like, "Yeah, what the fuck was that?" We'll realize that all of the destruction and demolishing of these agencies ain't a bad thing. But we're also going to realize that it's up to us. And that's what it comes down to. It's so easy to give you hard work to someone else to go do for you. But it's up to us. It's up to us to get the word out and start talking to our children differently and making sure that they have a standard in their life. And hopefully they already have that just by you having raised them. They should have a standard and an understanding of their self and who we are. And it's easy to love that once you have an understanding of that. But if you're a parent who thinks that ignoring it or pushing it off into the public school system to do for you is going to just make it easier, it's just going to make it easier on you, I guess. But in the long run, it won't. When you see things out of your kid that you can't explain, it's because you didn't take the lead role in their education. You let someone else do it. Shit happens all the time, unfortunately. But it's the time for us to start breaking that cycle. And it's never too late. As long as there's 6 of us left, and it's never too late. We can always do well. And there's way more than 6 of us. And we do have support. And we got a lot of love out there. And a lot of people want to fight too close with us. It's our fight. I appreciate the support, and I think a lot of other people do who are black. But it's our fight. And no one can fight that fight for us. Especially white people. I mean, they were our oppressors. They need to respect that and just accept the fact that, you know, it's kind of awkward. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, like, comment, share, and please subscribe. We'll see you on the next Black Pop.